Hi, this is Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 65, full-size Twix bars, recorded live Sunday, October 29th, 2023 from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief over at iTechGear.org, and joining us today is Brother Joel McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. We had our fall festival at my church, so we had trunk or treat and bounce houses and gave away candy, and I'm all set to give away some full-size Twix bars and some full-size.
See, that's why I'm coming to your
peanut
house.
butter cups.
I'm coming to your house. Former contributing writer over at Gear Diary, and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and living in the Retro Arcade podcast. You've got the full-size Twix bars and the full-size Reese's peanut butter cups, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm coming to your house. That's it. I'm coming to your house.
Yes.
So
I want to be the hit of the block.
Joining us also today, the former co-owner over at WUGNET Publications, the Windows Users Group Network, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
Hey guys, I am doing great, just absolutely great. Except I can't figure out the weather. Mother Nature is so foobar these days. I mean, 85 degrees in almost one November. That is unheard of.
Well, you know, our temperature this weekend dropped at least 40 degrees. We're
getting that tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah.
They're saying 28 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, it got a little bit chilly over here for us, but that's all right. You know, we're going to be without Mr. Chris Gavula today. He is traveling for work and will not be able to join us. So we want you to be safe, Chris. Don't worry, we're just going to talk about you lots behind your back.
Yeah,
so it's okay.
We'll just talk you right up tonight.
That's it. Hey, but you know, speaking of full-size Twix bars and some really cool, scary fun hitting us within the next couple of days, are you guys ready for Apple's Scary Fast Mac event that's going to be held tomorrow evening, which is a bit unusual for them?
It is unusual. I'll actually get to watch it.
I can't remember that ever.
I'll get to watch it live. No,
I know.
Yeah,
well, live. It's recorded. You know, it's recorded.
Oh,
but I mean,
yeah.
You can watch it at the at the streamed time as opposed to after the fact. But yeah, no, they're gonna go ahead and they're gonna they're not announcing a lot tomorrow, and I'm actually surprised that they're actually having an event for this.
Right.
Because of the number of things that they are, they're only really announcing 3 computers and 3 accessories.
Well, that's the rumor anyway. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. The current scuttlebutt is that we're gonna look at new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, as well as a new 24-inch iMac, and all 3 of these are expected with some level or tier of M3 processor. This is going to be the processor that's on par with the A17 Pro and the iPhone 15 series phones. This is a 3 nanometer processor, so this thing's going to have a little bit of oomph to them. All right. I would expect at least a 30 to 50% performance bump between the M3 and the M2. So this thing's going to have some power to it. And that's not to say that, you know, the M1 or, you know, in their variants, the M1 Pro and the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, or even the M1 Ultra aren't fast processors. They are. They're decent processors. You know, I run the show and run the site off of a 16-inch MacBook Pro with a M1 Max processor in it, and just a little bit, 64 gigabytes.
Yeah, the difference between that and something coming out next week at this event is not like the difference between I don't know, a Celeron and an i7. I mean,
that's true.
It's just not happening.
No.
I guess what really upsets me, though, is, as always, two of these big things I just bought. So
Yep.
I will have outdated equipment
Yep.
instantly.
Yep. And that's the one thing that really, really bothers me about always buying Apple hardware.
Yeah. Someday I'll learn to
Especially
keep
Macs,
something.
because they're not necessarily on a regular cycle. So you can't, it's difficult to
Yeah, you
plan
never
them
know. No.
out. Should I wait or should I buy now?
Right.
Riff off of the old Clash song from the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna give you and everybody else the same advice that I got from an old Mac person that we all know, as some of us love, Renee Ritchie, who said to me, because I asked him specifically, I said, Renee, how do you ever decide, which Mac to buy? How are you ever
Just
happy
buy one
with?
of each every year and you're covered.
Well, there's that, but there are some of us that cannot do that.
No, neither can I.
No.
So he said, honestly, you need to understand your use case. You need to understand what you're going to do with it.
That's right.
And you need to understand how long you plan to keep this thing around. How long are you going to, and then buy enough computer to cover what you're going to do now, and then either meet or exceed the amount of time that you plan to keep it. So buy as big of a machine as you can to fulfill those needs, and then be happy because you got your machine.
Yep.
All right. You got the quote unquote one that you wanted. All right.
Right.
And don't be upset if after you go ahead and you purchase this thing 2 weeks later, they come out with a new whatever it is. And between you and me, that's rough. That's a little bit difficult.
It is, but and most of us will not accept this, but it's truly the guidance we need to give ourselves as well as others. It's no different than if I go out, and if I could afford it, and I certainly can't, but if I bought a brand new Bentley today and they came out with a new Bentley tomorrow, I think my old one would probably be pretty good because Apple has high-end hardware. It's not like you're buying junk.
Their hardware. We were talking about this either this past week or the week before. Apple has got some of the best hardware on the market.
Absolutely.
This is when I believe part of it was around the
because
time
they control
an old
it.
friend of both of ours was looking for a new computer. Mr. Howard Sobel, also of WUGNET fame, was looking for a Windows machine, and there were some people out there saying, "Hey, go buy an Intel Mac."
He would like to, but his brain won't let him.
Yeah, I know it. Go buy an Intel Mac and then put Boot Camp on it and use it as a native Windows machine. And that's one of the first things that I did back in 2006 when I got my first 15-inch MacBook Pro.
I still lament the passing of Boot Camp. I really do.
Well, one of the biggest problems, and Chris G and I have been chewing on this bone for decades. Some of the biggest problems that Microsoft has always had with Windows is its driver base. It's always been horrible. It's always been absolutely horrible. Drivers have been buggy. They don't work right.
But it's too many people building the equipment. It all boils down to that.
Well, there
part of that.
There are so many people. There are so many companies out there that are making different equipment for that operating system. It's hard, and you've got so many different types and styles and experience levels of developers that are creating those drivers. It's hard to have a standard set.
But not to throw stones, but if you have a company building the software and building the hardware and building all the drivers and a lot of the peripherals, you should not be making the mistakes that someone we know is making today.
That is
true.
We'll leave that
true. That is true. And I'll go ahead and I'll say it. Microsoft's been making those mistakes.
They have.
And this is one of the reasons why. This is one of the reasons why, Apple machines, even as a Windows machine, are so is so good.
Solid.
They are taking the time to go through and create drivers for their hardware that drive Windows, drive with the Windows operating system, with their components. And it's absolutely amazing. And I really think that they are probably among one or two other vendors that might have just as, not as good, but a decent experience with Windows operating system and hardware. And it's weird to say that because they make their own operating system, and why would you want to, venture outside of their walled garden to do something else? And largely it's because Windows works on an Apple machine.
Absolutely.
The way that it's supposed to. It works on that machine the way that it's supposed to. All right. And actually makes Windows, they make Microsoft look good, which is amazing. And I think it's partly why Steve Jobs, I think, really wanted to stick it to Bill Gates when after Bill stuck it to him and quote unquote stole their user interface for Windows. I think, Steve's like, well, we'll just have to make a better Windows machine than Microsoft does. All right. And they did. So, so we're going to see 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros with an M3 based processor, probably at an M3, an M3 Pro, and an M3 Max variant.
Was the M2 series how long ago was it? Was it last year? Okay.
Last year.
All right.
2022.
Okay.
So they're coming out with hardware every year.
Well, they
So
kept
I
the
would
one.
buy-
They kept the one for almost 2 years, and then they came out
The
with the two, I
iMac.
think.
Yeah. See,
Well,
and
the
that's- and
iMac
that's-
is got me questioning why they're even bothering with it in the first
Oh,
place.
me too, Joe. But there
everyone's
are people.
buying.
There are people.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
not people. I think it's educational institutions that buy that.
educational
Well, yeah. I meant
institutions
somebody's
and
buying them.
companies, right?
Right.
Very few companies, if any at all, are buying.
It's the same thing,
24-inch all-in-one.
nobody buys an all-in-one Windows machine anymore. They
Or a
really
desktop.
They get
Right,
a
yeah.
laptop and a good monitor, and they get the best of both worlds.
Right.
Yep.
They're portable, they're movable, they can go and lap that thing on the couch or their favorite chair or whatever. All right. Or they can go and stick it on their desktop with a monitor or three.
Yep.
I think back 20, 25 years ago, my biggest worry in life was keeping my laptop up with my desktop, all looking the same.
Yep.
And now they are the same piece of
They're the
equipment.
same machine.
Yep.
They're the same machine. All right.
Yep.
The
The only exception to that is if you're really, really, really into the gaming and you want to spend stupid money on your graphics adapter,
right?
Then you're still building a desktop,
right?
Yeah,
right now. But it's not going to be an all-in-one. It's not going to be an all.
No, it's not.
Probably going to build it yourself,
all-in-ones,
if anything.
Right. All-in-ones are really for situations where you have little to no desktop space.
Correct.
And you're really looking to optimize what space you have so that all-in-one computer.
Perfect.
All-in-ones are for, Chris. All-in-ones are for people who walk by them at Costco and she says, "Look, Harold, we need that." And Harold says, "Looks good to me. Let's buy it, Ethel." And that's
that's one. Or I'm also thinking too of for that executive's secretary desk where the secretary does nothing but answer the phone all day and barely uses her computer. That's what that's for.
Probably right.
Right. It's for casual computing, right?
Right.
And for situations like I said where there's little to no space. The iMac Pro was a horrible disaster, and Apple discontinued it, right away. A pro level all-in-one was not the way to go for them, and they quickly dropped it. But even with an M3 processor, this thing's going to have some punch. So depending on what they decide to do with it, what flavor of M3 they get for this thing or offer for this thing, you could see and how much RAM is available You never know. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say the same thing that I said earlier, about, picking a computer. Consider your use case. What do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with your machine? Right. And then buy enough that you're going to be able to do those tasks, and then buy a little bit more so it'll last as long as you need it to last. And you should be just fine. Other than that, there's no way to gauge this. And the other thing that, as I said earlier, the other thing that they are offering in the Scary Fast event is their Magic Mouse, their Magic Keyboard, and their Magic Trackpad, all with USB-C based connectors. They're wiping the Lightning connector out all the way around. They're going to be the next version of the AirPods Max will lose the Lightning connector for a USB-C connector. The next edition of AirPods Pro and AirPods will have a USB-C connector.
Yeah, the AirPods are already out with it.
Yeah. So they're getting.
Why would you go spend money on that if it's the same product though?
Well,
I'm not. I refuse.
I don't know. I will tell you that if there's gonna be copycat cases that will work, or third-party cases that will work with your AirPods, and you should be able to get those.
Right.
They won't be quote unquote Apple branded, but you will be able to find those eventually on Amazon and other online sites. So keep an eye out for them, and you should be all right in getting those. But
I will say that,
yep.
They're what they're probably gonna do with those is they're just gonna change the port out, and that's it, which is kind of unfortunate because let's face it, the Magic Mouse is kind of not one of the greatest mice that they've ever brought out.
No, and if you remember,
but it's got a huge following. It really does.
It does have a big following, but if you
remember that, it's not changed.
Say again.
It hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't
recently,
changed. If you remember the picture that they have out there advertising, what this thing is going to, they've got the thing upside down with the USB-C connector, and I mean the damn thing looks like it died.
Yep.
Plug it into either end, but man, let me use it
not on the bottom of the freaking mouse. Come on, kids.
Well, there's not enough room on either end.
We could be wrong, and they could do that with this version, which that would be smart. But they're not gonna. They're not gonna.
No.
Yeah.
They're not. It's going to be
a dead ruin the aesthetics, and they will not have that. Nope.
Even now that Johnny Ive's not even an Apple anymore, so
yeah, Johnny wouldn't do that. He's probably turning over in his grave too. Well, even though he's not dead. But anyway, so if you're unhappy about that, you also may be unhappy with your iPhone 15 series. And Larry, you were talking about this. You were talking about this earlier this week. What's going on here? Why are folks unhappy?
There are a lot of unhappy iPhone 15 Pro people out there. In an article that we first looked at, it was aired over at 9 to 5 Mac, but by now it has widely spread across the globe by every pundit with a keyboard. Right. Everybody is talking about this. The iPhone 15 Pro owners are not happy campers. And yes, this includes me. You'll hear that in my voice a little bit as I whine about this.
Sure.
Several independent rating polls and actual 700,000 reviews of the iPhone 15 now show that the 13 Pro and the 14 Pro were both much better in the reviews by the users than this one. That's got to say something. That's just not a fluke.
Yep.
So like anything, I know we got to put this in context and give Apple a little time to figure it out. If there's anybody on the planet that can fix it with a firmware or some kind of an easy fix, it's Apple. They can do it, hopefully. Yep. But
that's like the rumors of the ghosted screens.
Yeah, I was just
overheating.
But between the overheating problem and the display ghosting and the proven very poor battery life, folks, we're getting 4 to 5 hours out of the same phone that we got 10 hours out of last year. That's
Right.
not right. So I have the overheating problem. I do not have the ghosting problem. But I do notice that the overheating problem doesn't happen quite as badly if I'm here at home on my Wi-Fi, but it gets slightly warm. If I'm sitting in a car in a parking lot waiting on Brenda to finish her haircut or whatever she gets at the beauty shop in there, and I'm scrolling through Facebook or I'm looking up stuff on Amazon, that thing is so hot. Honestly, I can't hold it. It is literally that hot.
See,
So, and I'm always on 5G when I do that. I wonder next time I do that, I'm going to try and turn off 5G and see if it works that
see if
bad.
the Wi-Fi does the same thing.
It doesn't. No, Wi-Fi does not do it. It's just
Huh.
5G that it gets that hot on. But the bottom line is when you pay over $1,000 for a phone, you expect quality, or at least I do.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I got it with this one. And
I agree.
I don't know.
Yep.
It's just we'll wait and see, I guess. But
Yep.
I agree.
somebody else has got more comments. That's all I got on it.
Yep.
Well, hopefully they will get this straightened out. I had the overheating problem on my 14 Pro Max.
See now, Chris G and I did not. We both, and I'm speaking
See,
for
and I
him,
don't
but I
have
know he
it.
said that.
I really don't have it on my 15 Pro Max. It does get a little bit warm when it charges on a magnetic charger. All right, but
Well, I
inductive
think they
charging
all do
generates
that.
heat.
That's
So
normal.
yeah,
Yep.
I was gonna say inductive charging generates heat. So,
Right.
all right. But yeah. So what are you gonna do as far as
Well, it's a flagship phone, and it's not. That's the point. It's
yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. But I know that
most people can't take them back either, Chris. That's the other
No.
problem. They're all
So
past the
Apple's got to
14
fix
days.
this. Apple's got to figure
Yeah.
out some way of fixing all the unhappy people. You know, where where do they all come from?
Right.
So
I think we all got to
Right.
keep complaining, though. I mean,
Yeah.
as users, we need to pick the phone up and call Apple. I mean, not
Right.
call them, but you can voice your feedback, and they will.
Yeah.
That will get to them.
Yeah.
And if enough of it gets to them, they will do something, I think.
Yep.
Hopefully, like I said,
Hopefully.
they'll get it quickly. This is a wait and see item. It would be interesting though to know from some other folks whether or not they are experiencing it, and again, where are they experiencing it? So yeah. Anyway, did you guys are all Mac users, and we're all Mac users here.
Both. We're both sort of.
Yeah, we are. We
Yeah.
are both, and all of us are both. But you guys upgraded to Sonoma 14.1 already. Joel,
Yes,
what's
I
going on?
did.
I mean, it was released, but what's the take on this so far?
Okay. Well, it's I'm going to be honest here. A lot of these are things that I haven't actually had issues with,
Mhm.
or I either that or I don't use. Like the favorites expanded in music to include songs, albums, and playlists. You can filter to display your favorites in the
Mhm.
library.
I
I
don't
have
even
Apple
use that.
Music. I don't
I
play
use
it.
it, and I use Apple Music, and I don't use that.
Right. And then they added this is a huge feature. Warranty status for Mac, AirPods, Beats, and earbuds available in the system settings. Okay, whatever.
So.
That's the way I feel about that. Fixes an issue whereas the system services settings within location services may
Mhm.
reset. You know what? I think I might have had that one. I don't know.
Hmm.
See, that's the thing is a lot of times I don't know if I had that one or not. So but then the last one is fixing an issue that may prevent encrypted external drives from mounting. Don't have any encrypted external drives at the moment, so I probably should.
I do
I just
encrypt.
don't.
I do encrypt my drives, but I don't have an external one. But the internal ones
Right.
I do.
So yeah, it was a solid release. It went in really quickly. A lot faster than it
Oh
takes a
yeah,
Windows
I
update to
agree
go
with
in.
that. I mean, it was like I put both mine and Brenda's on start, and before I knew it, they were all done.
Yep.
Hmm.
So that's the one thing you could say about most Apple updates, including
Yep,
the iDevices. They're usually
not
pretty,
problematic.
yeah, pretty easy to install. So makes me wonder why my wife never updates hers. Anywho,
Well,
Well,
we
she's like,
no,
won't
I
we
think we
won't
both
say
know the
why,
answer to
but
that question. She
we'll
doesn't
both
do
be
it
in
because it's a
trouble if we
pain.
say why.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Larry, I stepped on you. What were you saying?
No, I just told Joel, I said, we know why, but we would both be in trouble if we said why.
Well, that's true.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
But
Got to say that
you
for that.
know,
Yeah.
and then there's another thing too. Like we talk about OS updates and all that. Um, I want to have to push her to ask her work on why she can't upgrade to Windows 11 yet because she's still on Windows 10. Believe it or not,
Wow.
but
Well,
we'll see.
we will. We will. Um, one of the other, iOS 17.2 beta has come out, and I think one of the things that is kind of new and exciting in this beta is the iMessage contact key. And there's been a 9to5Mac had an interesting article related to the technical details of this. Larry, what's up? What can you tell us
You know what?
about?
In all honesty, I think this is something we should read and forget at most levels. I'm just not sure that it's all that big a deal to the average bear. And
Mhm.
since it is to some, though, we'll banter it about a bit here
Sure.
tonight. But what it is, as you said, it came out day before yesterday, I think, in the beta. And then 24 hours later, since everybody said, well, what even is it? Now it's a problem. Well, Apple has finally released the technical details surrounding how this actually worked. So Apple launched a new iMessage security feature, which is still in beta, called contact key verification. So we learned the basics of how it worked yesterday, as I said. It basically it's a unique solution to a problem that other messaging services face. We don't have a problem with it yet in iMessage, but Apple is trying to be proactive and combat the problem before it gets to iMessage with a new security feature. And it's against a threat that hasn't ever been seen in the wild yet. But Apple already built a very robust defense mechanism that'll help everybody using iMessage to make sure that it stays out of iMessage. So kudos to Apple for doing that. Somebody, had their head on straight, and then they fixed a problem before the problem happened. And if enabled, what happens, the contact key verification will give an automatic alert to that the message key distribution services, if the message key distribution services return device keys that have not been verified, which is the same as saying if an unrecognized device has been added to an iMessage account. Sure. So even more security is available by using what they have in the CKV in person, or on FaceTime, or via some other secure method like a phone call. But basically, boys and girls, this is stuff that it's no, don't worry about it. It fixed something that hopefully we'll never see happen.
Hopefully.
But if you read about it, at least you know what it maybe is.
Sure. Effectively, this is giving you a level of comfort that the person that is
and it does
texting
give me
you
that confidence.
is
I think
actually who
Apple
they
did a
say
good
they
job here.
are. Right. It's actually who they say they are, and it's actually somebody that you should be able to trust.
Right.
So there you go. And I want to go ahead though and move us to our mobile Linux segment. But before I do, I just want to take a sec and just announce to everybody that the iTechGear Weekly is now literally everywhere. We are available not only through Apple Podcasts, which is where we really kind of took a step up early this year. But we are now available on Spotify, Pandora. We are available on Apple Podcast. We
About 20 or so, aren't there?
We are available on we are literally all over the world through a company called Zencast. We are on just about any and every podcasting service and platform that you could want or even desire to listen to the iTechGear Weekly on. If you wish, you can actually get to us through let's see, our standard RSS feed. You can get to us through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Deezer, Radio Public, TuneIn, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podcast Index, Ghana, Savan, Overcast, Castro, and Castbox. You can get us just about everywhere. All right. And if you are a Android listener and couldn't get to us through Apple Podcasts, and getting us on your Android device wasn't necessarily user friendly, well, it is now. All right, go on over to Overcast.
We're probably at Snoopy's doghouse somehow.
Go ahead and search for go to the service of choice out of the ones that are now supported, and search for iTechGear Weekly, and you should be able to download and subscribe to it and listen to it the way you want. So y'all go ahead and get after it, because we are starting to step up the game. So the iTechGear Weekly, available in a podcaster or a podcast catcher near you. So
yes.
Given that, some of the Android devices that are out there, man, I'll tell you what, Samsung makes some really, really nice devices. And I never thought I'd hear myself say that, because I was so
me either.
I was so very after some of the pocket PCs that I like the Samsung Epics, which was a decent BlackBerry clone, but was running Microsoft's Pocket PC phone. It wasn't as optimal as it could be, and they had a really hard time with their lawsuit against or Apple's lawsuit against them and their countersuit back before the court finally went ahead and sided with them, and then reduced the payout from like $1 billion to like 37 cents over the course of a few years. But apparently Samsung's S24 series is supposed to launch in this coming January with that wonderful satellite SOS feature. Now, Larry, you were looking at some of these devices, weren't you?
Looking at them? Yeah, I was. Well, I got to go just one step backwards and to kind of echo what you said.
Mm-hmm.
We probably all, or most of us, started out in Windows, then went to Mac and stayed with them for various reasons. And then because of what we do or what we did, we had to have, all the operating systems surrounding us and being able to do things in all of them. But I have always, I'm going to say for the last at least 19 years, I've been pretty solid Apple. I've kept a Windows machine here, and I've got a ThinkPad, and I use it occasionally when I'm helping people or have to reference something. But for the most part, I'm an Apple guy, and I've tried once or twice in the past 5-6 years to break out of the mobile part, the mobile cell phone part of the wall garden, and do something different. But I do that for a reason that if he was here, Chris G would echo strongly. Our use cases in life and in work dictate what we buy. They dictate what we need as far as tools and toys and solutions. And I do some support for a couple of nonprofits, and one of them's pretty good size, and I do all other sysadmin work for Google Workspace. And that requires me to do a lot of remote things. And when I'm away, I don't want my Windows machine there. I can do it on a Mac, but it's just not as comfortable. I mean, on an iPhone. So I bought an S24 yesterday. And reading what I read today and what I'm going to share with you, I'm not so sure that I'm not going to take it back and wait for 3 months for the new one. But anyway, bottom line is, as you were headed, the next Galaxy series, the S24, is apparently going back to their old January release cycle that Samsung had some years back. And this just may have some impact on that new Galaxy 23 Ultra that I purchased, but I don't know, because really the couple of 2 or 3 new features that they're talking about, and they leak things kind of like Google does. If they leak it, it's probably going to happen. Not so with Apple, but these features don't really do that much for me. They might do much for someone else, but for my use case, I don't think so. They're going to have a little more RAM. Yeah, okay. They're going to have better displays. Well, how much better can you get than the S24
that display on the S23
right?
series
it's gorgeous. I mean,
stunning.
and they're going to have satellite connectivity, and that's a big deal. That is truly a big deal. And I think they did this because Apple did it. They had to do it.
Yeah, this is a Me Too. This is a Me Too feature.
It's almost certain that the S24 Ultra will lose its curved edges and also its squared corners.
Yeah,
so there goes all the years of the Note and the Ultra, because most people don't like them. There's a huge following. I actually like it. That's another reason I may just keep it, because I actually like the shape of the thing. But they will add some AI, because the AI is just simply inherent in the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Which will go into only the Ultra. And for those of you contemplating buying the S24 or the S24 Plus, you may have to use the old, however they pronounce the Exynos chip. They're bringing it back, to the chagrin of many.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Joel, do you have any experience with that chip and it's how it compares and why people don't?
Well,
I don't. I just
rumor has it it's supposedly slower than the Snapdragon processors. I haven't used one since I got rid of my Note 10 Plus, which is now
money that's going to bring it back. It's less money to make it, I guess.
Probably. I mean, well, that, or they're trying to go the same route Apple and now Google has gone. Because Google, now technically Google's not making the tensor cores yet, but they will be. They're designing, I should say.
Well, there are those that said somebody needs to make them better, but I guess that's here or there.
Right. But, I have really not a lot of opinion on it. I think it, they're going to be, there's really, when you look at Android, there's 2. There's Google and Samsung.
That's it.
And then there's everyone else.
Yep.
And everyone else is nowhere near where either of those 2 are.
Well, oddly, you mentioned that. I was speaking with the manager at the carrier where I bought mine yesterday. And he said they sell literally, we can't count the number, more Samsung phones than anything else in the high range bracket and in the flagships. He said we sell more of those than we sell, only thing close is an iPhone. That's it.
Right.
They really sell a boatload of those things.
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
They do. Yep.
They do. So
it's a good device. It's a good device.
It is a good device. It is a good device. And Samsung has always got some level of enticement, if you will, whether it's a free storage upgrade or some cool accessories, whether it be
mine was $800 off the retail price.
There you
incentive. That's a big carrot.
That is a big cut.
Big old carrot out in front of that horse.
Yeah. So it's pretty nice. Really can't complain too much about that. But hey, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Talking about some bad stuff for a minute.
Sure.
Apparently, Joel, basing security on geolocation and geolocation alone is stupid.
Well, this is more of a rant than anything. IP geolocation, coordinated by several different things, and I'm gonna get more in depth in an article hopefully soon. I had a client who, I'm not gonna say who, but they detected that. Oh, hey, I was logging in from supposedly Colorado, even though I'm sitting here in Ohio. So they decided to block our login because it looked suspicious.
Sure.
Well, why this is problematic is depending on who your ISP is, they could be using a bank of IPs from anywhere.
Right.
So I had, like, for example, or a lot of times too, I've also seen like if I do a who is probably the best way to find where you are geolocated at. And I've did that, and I've seen multiple locations reported for the same IP address.
Sure.
So in my Verizon phone, I did see Ohio, but then I also saw New York, which is the one that they picked up, and they use Azure, by the way. So, which Azure is the cloud hosting thing, but they also have a service called Azure as well that does identity management. So, but if you've ever used, like, for example, I'll bring up an iPad that's a Wi-Fi only iPad. Wi-Fi only iPads do not have GPSs in them. And granted, I will say this: I've never had it pull up the wrong location on that, but I have had other systems, Apple-based or not pull the right location.
Sure.
Or they think you're in a different state than you are, or a different city. So I want to delve a little bit more into that. On far the accuracy, the only thing that's pretty accurate is going to be the country. So it's going to get the country right. But reasons you might want to not want to base your security on that is that you could potentially be locking out users that
block those countries. Yeah,
don't need to be locked out. I understand if it's a certain country that you can't, like, great example. This is the big wall, IP wall of China. China blocks a lot of things.
Oh, they do.
So that's their prerogative.
That's their right.
Right.
They can,
sure.
Their country.
But it's also why companies like Netflix has location specific releases that they don't want United States folks to look at, and so on and so forth, and that's why it's all that way. So, and if you're intending on doing that, well, that's one thing, but if you're not, that's something else. So,
sure.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Netflix actually has some content that they release only in certain countries. I mean,
like the United States.
Yeah.
So, so that's definitely something you should think about. So,
absolutely. So go ahead and we'll look for that article from you.
Yes,
absolutely.
We'll be.
Yes,
we'll
I'm
be
going to go a
looking...
little bit more in depth into it because I don't want to give any wrong answers or any wrong advice.
Right. No, we'll be looking forward to that article, and we'll give it a little bit of a spotlight here on the show when it finally hits, or just before it's gonna hit. But it'll be interesting to hear what you find and what your research kind of comes up with. So, now, here's something though that I thought was kind of interesting, and I really, Motorola has been doing some really interesting work with screens, foldable screens, bendable screens, etc. And they've got another interesting Android concept phone. And Joel, you were bringing this up earlier this week. What can you tell us about this particular
This come from Over Enjoyed Life. And apparently there was an event called Lenovo's Tech World where Motorola announced or introduced its adaptive smartphone concept. And what this essentially is not just the screen being flexible or foldable, but the whole blooming device. So instead of just the screen folding in the middle, you can wrap the phone around your wrist and use it as a watch. Interesting concept.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, especially there's friends of mine that know. And I think, this is an interesting concept. I don't think it's going to go beyond that, to be honest, because I think there's going to be just like folding screens. I think having the whole thing fold might also be problematic too.
Okay,
but we'll see what happens. But if this is one of those things which is a cool concept, but I don't think it's going to be a real product yet, at least not for the near term anyway.
Well,
so what do you guys think about this thing? You don't, apparently. So
no,
that's fine.
I'm trying to couch and counsel some of the feelings that I've got for this particular event. I think it is really, really cool that Motorola is trying to go out on a limb and create some new and innovative devices. And then they're, sort of previewing these things to see what kind of interest there may be for that particular kind of form factor. All right. Or device. I liked the Motorola roller, the one with the rolling screen that they had, a heck of a lot better than I like this particular one. That sort of bends.
I'm a fan of, like you. I'm a fan of what they're trying to do and breaking into new ground. I'm not a fan of that phone. I wouldn't use it if you gave it to me.
This
I have no use for it. It's just
right now, and this is again. What do we always say? Seriously, what do we always say?
Use case. So if you want to wrap your phone around your wrist and play Dick Tracy, well, then it's a pretty good deal, I think.
Well, heck, you can play Dick Tracy with any smartwatch.
That's true, though. You can.
This particular device, I think that the concept of being able to do something like this or have a bendable, snakeable screen, maybe something that's interesting. I don't know that you're going to be able to support an entire manufacturing line based on this particular thing. All right. Like I said, I think the roller was a better concept. I think that particular device had a better chance of being a success than this particular device. I mean, we're citing an article from Android Life for this particular topic, and seriously, kudos to Motorola for the innovation. Please go back to the drawing board. If you don't like the roller and you're not going to move forward with it, that's fine. Go back to the drawing board, figure something else out. This is not the one, at least from my perspective. I mean, we've all been in mobile devices for a long, long time. I've been in them since 1996, almost 40 years.
Palm Pilot.
Yep.
Newton, all of them.
Yep. Palm Tungsten,
Tungsten.
And that's really where that roller kind of comes in. That kind of sort of.
Well, didn't Samsung do a TV that was slightly successful with that? A roll up,
yeah. Basically, they had a box, small little sound bar styled or sized box. Where you push the power button on the remote, and the screen rolls up like a movie screen would,
And I think one of the problems they had with it, though, that just the airflow from, air conditioning in the house and stuff, fans would move the screen too much, and people just didn't like that. So
right. So there are some challenges with the these kinds of innovative devices and things that happen with these. But it is good that Motorola is doing this, because quite honestly, candy bar phones are boring as all get out. They're boring.
They are.
All right. It is a boring form factor. There's nothing fun there in and of itself, or even really innovative in terms of a form factor. All right. It's a bar. It's a rectangular slab of electronics, and that's it. All right. That's, basically your Pixel phone, your iPhone, your Samsung, most your Samsung S
even
series
MacBooks,
phones.
dare I say that, because when was the last time Apple changed the form factor of the MacBook? I don't remember.
Well,
slightly once in a while they'll bend an edge,
minor tweaks.
Well, the last thing that they did was to take away the one additional extra screen that they had on the doggone thing, that the touch bar, which everybody, I don't know who liked that touch bar. I mean, I don't know that there were a lot of folks that really went along with that. I changed it over to display the function keys and the function keys alone, unless I actually needed to do something. Yep. And I think the only time I ever really used the touch bar for anything else other than function keys was like maybe once or twice, and it was a number of years ago.
It had a little cool factor to it, a little wow thing, but
it did, but not
short on utility.
Yeah, not so much. Not so much. So I want to move us to our Windows segment, but before we actually get there, I'd like to share yet another announcement related to iTechGear.org's growth. iTechGear and the iTechGear Weekly are both on Patreon. And for those of you that don't know, Patreon is a platform for creators, allowing them to express their creative side in an organized, marketable fashion, and then earn a living or create some kind of a side hustle. All right. You can create a community around your hobby of choice. You can gain followers, members, and supporters along the way. And you can create subscription-based products that you can offer for sale for a small, or depending on the product, large or medium-sized monthly pledge. And then you'll provide your members or followers those sorts of things however long you've set this up. Setup is easy. Prices are reasonable, and you can have your pledge auto deposited in an account of your choice every month. With iTechGear, our initial offering is a monthly newsletter for just $3, count them, $3. Count them, $3.
One, two, $3.
Thank you. Gosh, you guys.
I can't even get out of Starbucks for less than twice of that.
I know.
Right.
And that's the point. And for your $3 monthly contribution, we're going to provide you with a monthly newsletter. All right. That we'll be getting together in the coming weeks and months.
A lot of very good tips coming up in the newsletter.
It's one of the things that at least half of the people that are normally on this show are, I would consider to be experts in, but that may be blowing my own horn. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes.
But become a patron of iTechGear and the iTechGear Weekly, and come and grow with us. All right. We'll provide you with the tech understanding that you're missing right now. join us at www.patreon, that's patreon.com/iTechGear. That's www.patreon.com/iTechGear.
Let me add one thing there. What we had planned here is, folks, is to provide you guys with content that you really can use. This is not just babble about tech stuff. These are real life technical tips that'll make your life easier and make you do wonderful things with the tools that you have right in your hands today, your phones, your computers, and whatnot. So give it a try. You might find it's just the ticket.
Right. And, iTechGear truly is all about helping people. Our slogan is to, bring technology out of the cloud and down to earth where regular people can understand it. All right.
Very true.
That's basically what we do. We're all about helping folks get value out of the tech and the gear that they purchase. All right. We write reliable reviews based on valid, formal use cases. All right. Or different documented or known uses of an actual thing. All right. These are not biased. They are not subjective opinions, kind of like the ones that you find at the big box sites. Somebody gets pissed off because it something happened and it wasn't to their liking and they're really annoyed with it. They will go and throw a 1-star review at them just to go ahead and be spiteful. We don't do that. All right. We are open-minded. We are objective. We do our best to consider nearly every type of use or user or need and reason to pick up one device over another. All right. Everyone here at iTechGear.org is a professional product tester. All right. And we have years, if not decades.
We have way more years than we want to count.
Smoke. Do we have professional journalism and publishing experience. All right. We've got it coming out of our ears. And not only will we really help you figure out the best tech to get into and the best way to use it, we'll help you figure out the best and easiest ways to use it too. All right. So becoming a member over at patreon.com/iTechGear is going to take you a long way. All right. This is going to be someplace that you're going to come back to again and again. And we are planning a number of different membership tiers and other kinds of products where you're going to be able to get in touch with the team here for the right membership level. All right. You'll be able to get in touch with us and ask us some questions and get some help or look for or request, certain kinds of reviews or opinions on certain things that are, you're considering or troubling you or you're wondering about. All right. So again, patreon.com, patreon.com/iTechGear. You're going to get a valued membership. You're going to get your money's worth. All right. And we are going to be able to grow the site even more because the money's going to go back into the site. So there you go. All right. But I want to go ahead though, and I want to move us to our Windows segment. I've got 2 stories in this segment that I want to go ahead and make sure that we get to. And Larry, you and I are some real old Microsofties. And I know that you sent this next thing around the week with a WTF kind of.
Well, I did.
I get the look on your face. It was all through email, and we don't do video shows or video calls much, but I could see the look on your face.
What bothers me the most about this is I realize times change and people change and companies change, but there was a time back in that era that Chris is referring to that. I mean, I personally spent months and months and months in Redmond working out there. And, I met a lot of people and worked with a lot of people. And the thing that I'm going to say about this next thing, even as innocuous as it might seem, would
Yep.
have never, ever, ever have happened then, like
No.
it did now.
No,
So
no,
the
this
other day, I'm just sitting here in the office, and what this is about, folks, is Microsoft has decided they have the right to automatically install apps on your Windows computer, whether you like it or not. That
right.
you don't have a say in it. And what's worse, you can't uninstall it. Seriously, even as the machine admin for this example I'm going to tell you about, I could not remotely, or even when I went into this to the office, I could not uninstall this app. So a user texted me, and she texted me a screenshot of this app that had been installed on her Windows 11 Dell laptop. And I said, that's impossible because all of you guys are local users and standard accounts, and you can't install anything. And I didn't install it. So how did it get there? Well, it came with the Windows update. That's how it got there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let
And
me,
this is and this is something that most folks will never ever use and
no,
don't have a
yeah.
need for. Microsoft is auto installing the Dev Home preview,
Yeah,
right?
let me give them a little bit more background on this here, just for a
Sure.
second. To put it in perspective, let me tell you, Dev Home is what it's called, and this is their Dev Home preview.
Right.
So what it does, it helps developers, software developers,
Right.
in setting up their workflows, their environments, their profiles, all of their apps, their developmental tools, all of the repositories and their code bases, all of these things that they use with GitHub and all these places, which Microsoft now owns, as you all know now. But this is one little tool that puts it all in one place. It helps you be a better software developer. So I'm really sure that this accountant in this health-based organization really needed this on her computer, right? No.
You know.
Now, my first comment is, well, my first comment you don't want to hear. I'll tell you my second comment. You know, in fact, all of the users of the machines, like I said, in this Google Workspace backed environment here, that this organization all have standard accounts. So we don't want, extraneous software on these
Right.
machines. We don't even want people installing Facebook or any of that stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, I can just see it now. Little Johnny or little Sally is home with their computer, and they're 15, 12, 13, 10 years old, and they get the most current Windows update. They see this and they go run and show mommy and daddy. Say, well, what is this? Can you imagine the fallout that we're going to start seeing from
Yeah.
just this? Come on, Microsoft. What the what here?
Yeah. No, this is not cool. I mean, yes, I understand maybe this is something that they want to start having to be part of their standard Windows installation, but I will tell you, having development tools on each and every Windows
In the
install
world.
is a waste of hard drive space. All right. It's kind of like the making certain that we have, you're gonna get solitaire
Yeah,
or
apparently the
Minesweeper
only
or
machines that this didn't go on, guys, was Windows S machines. But God knows there's so many computers that are similar to Windows S machines, used the
right.
same way, like these that I'm talking about. So
Right.
yeah, I
No,
don't know.
I don't like it when things show up like this on my computer without my knowledge or my consent. Yes, I have computers with, multi terabyte drives in them. All right. I don't care. I'm very stingy about my space.
Yeah, but it's my
Um,
computer. I paid for the operating system on this Windows machine.
yep,
Microsoft does not own it. This is like walking home, opening your door, and there's a
yep.
stranger leaning on your island in the kitchen saying, "Hi there." And you go, "How did you get in the house?"
Oh, you mean my
It's no
house?
different.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
you mean my
it's
house?
yeah, it's no
The one
different.
that I'm
I'm
now
sorry.
squatting in and you don't have any
Yeah,
rights to because I am an
I'm here now.
indigenous, I'm an indigenous, citizen or
Right.
whatever it is that, they're claiming to be, um, a sovereign citizen. That's the word I'm looking
I'm
for.
sorry.
Sovereign.
This just spins me up. It really does.
Yeah. No, I hate things like this. If Look, kids, if I want the things on my computer, I will go look for them and I will find them and I will install them. All right.
True.
Please.
It's like Liam Neeson.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I know you have to put the .NET framework on my Windows machine. I get that.
In order to get some run times
Right,
to run.
right. But my
Okay.
word.
But I see that coming on the machine and I'm consenting to it.
Right.
All right. And you're telling me as you're installing the machine, hey, in order to run this, you're also going to need this component.
Oh,
You say
I'm
no to
sure
this component,
that
you won't
we've
be able to
all
run the
signed
thing.
some digital X somewhere in an agreement box
Right.
that says they can do this. I'm sure, but
Oh, I'm certain, but this is
doesn't
not
matter.
cool. This is not cool. This
Yep.
is not something that I want, and this is not something that I know most folks will want on their machines. Most folks aren't going to be able to use this, and they're going to waste hard drive space having it there. So
if you wake up and you see this on your machine, you know what it is. You can't get rid of it, and you just gotta say,
yeah, you've got to
okay, it's
lump it.
there.
Now, hopefully it's not that big, is it?
No, it's not. Well, no. It's
Okay.
in fact, I'm not sure. That's a good point. I'm gonna go look.
But even still, it's not something that you consented to,
Right, no. And
Um,
nor that it serves me.
right. Yeah, you consented to it when you installed the update that it's contained in, but
Right.
honestly, unless it's like in your face, hey, we're installing this as part of this update, then sneaking
And
this on there is
I can almost see it if it were something like, okay, they took away WordPad a while back. Maybe they got a new version of WordPad or something better. So we're going to put
right,
it on all computers and give it to you, folks. Well, that's
right,
fine. It's a tool, but let me uninstall it if I don't want it.
exactly. Thank you. All right. This may be one of those things that you have to add or install in Windows components, as opposed to an app that you install. Maybe you'll be able to yank it out there, but even still, it's not something that everybody's
Nope,
going to want
nope.
on
I
their
already
machine.
tried. You can't do it. It won't go.
Yeah. Thanks, Microsoft. Really appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing that happened that Microsoft did that and this is going back a few years. And I know that this is a topic that Chris and I have beaten to death. I mean, that horse is dead, bloodied, and there isn't much left of it. But it's interesting that Satya Nadella came up this past week and said that killing Windows Phone when they killed it was a strategic mistake. All right. I really think that is an interesting development. I think that is an interesting sort of admission, if you will. I know that I think the decision was made by Ballmer. All right. Back when he was still CEO of the
It
company.
was on his watch, so he had to
Yeah.
make the decision, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
He could have been misinformed by somebody before he made it.
He probably was, but Ballmer's biggest problem is that he never understood mobile computing. All right. Mobile computing is not about just being a BlackBerry and being able to send instant messages back and forth to one or more person, all right, or get email on the go. Although that is something that we do with those devices, it's not just about that. All right, as many users of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now called X, or LinkedIn or any other social network that's out there, Snapchat, right? TikTok. I mean, those things have allowed creativity to just bloom and blossom with individuals all over everywhere in every part of the world that would never have had that kind of a creative or monetary creative outlet or monetary inlet, depending on how you want to look at it.
It's economics, it's business.
So, and all they really needed to do, all right, the biggest reason why Windows Phone died was because there was no software in their store.
That's
The
true.
Windows Phone store had
Yep.
little to no software in it, and the stuff that was there was really stuff that not too many folks wanted to install or needed to install.
But let me
All right.
ask you two guys a question. Think back, and I'll just put a picture on this briefly for our listeners who have never seen or heard of a Windows Phone.
Yep.
Picture when you opened up the primary user interface on a Windows Phone, you had a bunch of blocks. They could be sized big or small. Or
Live
medium.
tiles. Yep.
Yeah, they're tiles, and they were very much like the tiles in Windows 7.
They were actually, or
the
the Windows 8,
same.
Windows 8 and 8.1.
Excuse me, eight.
All
But
right.
where I'm going with this is, can you imagine with today's technology having that UI, what you could possibly do?
It would be amazing.
My
It would be
gosh, you could
amazing.
do so many things.
You know, the Windows Phone UI was, and those live tiles,
I loved it. I did.
that device was really made for live tiles. All right. And had Microsoft gotten their head out of their rear end, all right, long enough to see and understand that the desktop does not belong everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Then Windows RT would have been their version of iOS. It would have been seen and marketed as their version of iOS or their answer to iOS.
They could have been the start of something huge.
They could have had a sizable chunk of the tablet market. The problem is they wanted to make a change, and they wanted absolutely everybody to get, in line with this.
And also, they only had one primary hardware maker back then, Lumia, I think. And it was one other that tried and never could produce it.
Well, there were a few of them. I still have a Windows Phone in my drawer here. It's by a company called BLU. All right.
Okay.
And it was a decent Windows Phone. All right. It was a decent Windows Phone, nice, thin. I mean, that Nokia 1520 was the one that with that big, huge saucer-sized camera lens on the back of that 40 to 48 megapixel camera lens on it.
Back then, right.
Back in the day. And that's like 2015, 2016 to get that big of a photo, that big of a camera lens on a phone, number one, and then be able to take, a 48 megapixel picture almost 10 years ago is unheard of. All right.
Yep.
And all Microsoft needed to do, seriously, all they needed to do was to put a little bit of effort and marketing into the platform, put a little bit of support in there for developers so that they could go ahead and release apps and update apps and sell apps on that platform. All right. I mean, you'll notice now that even on one of the biggest problems that they had no real, because they killed Windows Media Player, they had no real way of even selling TV shows or movies on their platform, and they still don't. They still don't. Yes, they have all the streaming services apps in the Windows Store now, or the Microsoft Store now, but they don't have any kind of a they really don't have a DVD player,
streaming solution
app, and they don't have a native streaming solution. They don't have a native video playing app. All right. You want to install something or try to get something to work, they will install the legacy software for Windows Media Player. And that stopped in Windows 7 or version 7, which was released with Windows 7 in 2009.
Right. I can't speak for the Microsoft of today, but I can speak for the Microsoft of yesteryear, where I went to hundreds of meetings. And And back then, and this is, I know that even preceded this era, but still,
Yeah.
what the philosophy was is, okay, we got 20 folks, we're going to get in the room, we're going to have a meeting. Everybody had meetings all day long, like they do today. So
Yep.
we're going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. If more than 50% of it sticks on the wall, then we'll have another meeting tomorrow. If more than 50% of the stuff falls to the floor, that's it. We're killing it. Whatever it is, we're killing it.
Yeah.
That was the way they worked. It was a numbers-based thing, and it didn't matter. It was just wrong.
And that is not the way to manage a platform.
Project, no.
Or a project. All right. Look, the reason why people pick you, the reason why people want to follow iTechGear is because you provide value. All right. You provide some level of that. The reason why people get on the Windows platform is because it provides them with some level of value, whether that's familiarity, whether that is access to services and data, whether that is access to applications. It's the value that they see and that they receive for their outlaid money. All right.
Right.
But Microsoft failed to do that with Windows Phone. All right. And it was bad. It was bad.
But there's no going back. So we might as well.
No.
Quit lamenting it.
But it's interesting to hear that Satya said that pulling the plug on that was a big strategic mistake.
At least it was some admission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Closure,
now I don't feel as bad or feel as stupid for having, the positions that I've had for the last 10 years, but whatever. Anyway, that is effectively the show. I want to move us now to our pick of the week segment. But before we get there, I want to take a quick moment to remind our listeners that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we individually purchase and actually use, and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. All right. These are not paid advertisements or items for which we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, this, according to the editorial policy at iTechGear.org, this is something that we would have to disclose upfront before we give you the actual pick, giving you the opportunity to either tune in or tune out with your brain as we go through this. These are sincerely things that we actually believe in, and we want to bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like you.
You bet your bippy. So Larry, you've got the pick this week, and
I do.
That there are a number of folks out there who would love to know about your pick. What is it?
Well, as you said, we typically try and do technology gadgets and things we use and love, but a lot of times we'll get a little off the track. We'll talk about coffee products because we all love coffee on this show. And sometimes we'll talk about things that are just useful and very inexpensive. And today, in my case, I'm going to talk about a really great deal on some reading glasses. Now, that might seem like a bit of an ordinary pick, but what do you pick up when you use your smartphone if you're over 50 years old? You pick up your reader so you can see over your contacts. And there are 40 million people in the US who wear contacts, and they pretty much all wear readers when they're using them.
Not me. I'm bifocal.
Well, I know
man,
you're one of the few though. So if you're in this other larger demographic, you know who you are, and you know how important a pair of readers really is, and how upsetting it is when you need them, you can't find them, you left them on that table or that couch, and they're not there. The dog ate them or whatever. So what I said, I'm going to find some good ones. And these things aren't cheap, even at like Walmart or the drugstore. They're anywhere from 20, 30 bucks a pair for really nice ones. So
Yeah.
I found some on Amazon and just took a gamble of several, probably 6 or 8 months ago. And I've bought several of these since. So now I have probably, 12 pair of them laying all over the house. They're in all my bags. They're in all my car, all of our cars. So they're scattered everywhere. So I don't have to look for them. $2.60 a pair for a pair of glasses that, folks, it is literally absolutely the build quality of something you would expect from your optometrist. They are so well made. You will get them, unwrap them, and even the unwrapping process, you're going to say, oh my word, they each have a case, they each have a cleaning cloth. Wow. And they are so beautiful. I mean, they're so well made, you just won't believe it. So I'm going on about them like this because they really are that good for $2.60. I mean, I don't know.
See, no, that's not bad. That's pretty good. All right. I mean, you're citing a link from Amazon for this.
I am, yeah. And
all right. And Amazon is some place that everybody is familiar with. All right.
Sure.
If you're on the internet at all right, then you're definitely aware of who Amazon is and what they do.
Yep.
So getting, and I'm trying to get myself to a point where I can actually get to the product page, but for whatever reason,
these are made by a company named, probably not made, but they're marketed by a company named Carrickson. And one of the interesting comments that you'll read as you go about Amazon looking for other similar readers, and I've done this because I bought so many the first time around and threw them all away. Everybody says the build quality, it's horrible, it's awful, it's plastic, it's junk, it's not strong, it bends, whatever. But these, no bad comments. They all rave about the build quality. So I don't know, for that price, if you use glasses, if you need a bunch of them laying around in different colors, and the ones that I put up here are just one of many different styles. They have men's and women's and all kinds of colors and anything you want. I mean, you can go pick out any kind, and they're all same price. Just
and
about.
they come from a strength of 1.0 to I'm sorry, 0.75.
Yeah, they go down to 0.75. Most people start at 1.25.
Or 0.5. I'm seeing in the
wow.
list. It's not sorted very well. All right. And it goes all the way up to 6. All right.
That's a range you don't see at the drugstore carousel.
No, you don't. Well, you'll find 1s, 1.5s, 2s, 2.5s,
3.5, 375 is the end of it.
Yeah. So, and on some occasions I've seen 4s, but I've never seen them go all the way up to 6. So if you're looking for reading glasses, this is probably a really good
something to better help you see your toys, your technology tools. There you go.
Right. And it currently comes with a 6% coupon that you may apply at checkout. So there you go.
Even cheaper.
Absolutely. So that, kids, is the show. This is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 65, full-size Twix bars. Recorded live Sunday, October 29th, 2023 from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera for Brother Joel McLaughlin, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, and our missing in action, Mr. Chris Gavula. We will see you next time.